Hello, everybody. Hope you're having a good day. I sure am. I finally hit UL60 on my QU1 account, and boy oh boy, I knew going from level 80 to 90 would be significant, however, not as significant as what I was shown. I went from doing like 2800 with an S2 Verena and Wuwas with my QU1, no third slot, that's why it sounds so bad, also wasn't as optimally played as possible. And after I moved him to level 90 and I leveled up his, Forte, or what's it called in this game? I think it's Forte, right? Yeah, it's Forte, yeah. So after I leveled up his Forte, I managed to get 4,500 in Wiwa on the first try. Once again, not optimally played. So yeah, it's a pretty big difference maker going from level 80 to 90 for characters in this game and maxing out their Forte. However, what I want to talk about today is sadly a little more negative of a topic. Now, of course, there's people already making videos on the new upcoming endgame. I will not speak on it yet, okay? We have no clue how difficult this endgame actually is. All we know is that there is a prerequisite requirement to have a certain amount of progress in both TOA and WIWA to actually be able to play this new endgame, which obviously to anyone this means it will be the new hardest endgame content, especially since it actually requires 3 teams. You may say, oh, TOA requires that too. However, the thing is, in TOA, there are like lower floors that are significantly weaker than the harder floors. That may not be the case for this new endgame, and it may be evenly distributed the difficulty among 3 teams, which would be a huge endgame difficulty spike as compared to TOA and WIWA. Because in TOA, you can just do a solid amount of horizontal investment or have the shield characters, and you instantly breeze through it. And in WIWA, you can just have one super vertically invested in team without even using a second one, like I did with my S6Q1 against WIWA, and you'll just hit the max score for the currency anyways, right? You probably cannot do this for this new endgame. It also isn't confirmed whether or not you'll be able to switch weapons to other characters on another team like you can in TOA, which can be an entirely other bag of worms, right? So that I will wait for once it's officially out and we have like really good information on it. However, what I do want to talk about is banners, right? I brought this up around Cartethia's release about Cartethia and Chacona being back-to-back banners and how much I hated that. Looking back at it, that's actually a while back now. It's been about half a year since then. That's pretty crazy, right? But back then, I got a little bit of heat for talking about how much I hated the Cartethia Chacona, one, how much Cartethia wants Chacona, and two, the fact that they were back-to-back banners, because this means it was harder for people to pull both, right? And then if you can't pull both at the time, then you're simply gonna have to wait damn near half a year in most cases to actually be able to then roll on this new character to finish the team, right? Even HSR, with how predatory they fucking are, they usually give you the decency of releasing one limited 5-star who's like on a new archetype. Like, let's say Toon Break existed in HSR, and then they'd release another best in slot teammate a patch after that character. However, since this Cartethia Chacona thing, and the thing is, back then, people told me I was over exaggerating, this is like a one-off thing that isn't going to happen often. Since then, more often than not, have we actually had characters having their best in slot right fucking next to them, and it's become even more common for them to be on the exact same patch. Now, the thing is, even though I hated Cartethia Chacona and the way they did the back-to-back banners, that is kind of the best case scenario of back-to-back banners, because you also bleed into a new patch, and for those who don't know, the first half of a new patch just gives way more pulls as compared to the second half. So you still had a pretty solid chance of being able to maybe afford both of those characters if you were caught off guard by it, if you were to win your 50-50s. However, with these recent back-to-back banners, they aren't even trying to make it like bleed into a new patch. They are straight up just releasing them on the exact same patch, right? In 2.5, our only new limited was Prolova. So I'm not going to count this because yes, she reran, or sorry, Canarella reran alongside her. However, Canarella's a rerun banner, so that makes sense, right? I'm talking about strictly just completely new limited characters. It was after this in 2.6 where we got Augusta and Yuno, who are obviously best in slot for each other and on the exact same patch. However, it didn't stop there. In 2.7, we then got Galbraina and as well as Kyuan, who are best in slot for each other on the exact same patch. In 2.8, we only had one new limited character, which obviously means they couldn't do this. However, upcoming in 3.0, everybody knows it at this point, it's confirmed, Lene and Mornai are on the exact same 3.0 patch, and they are best in slot for each other. I hate this shit, man. Can we please slow the roll down? Okay? I can like semi-understand if they do this shit like half the time, or they do this shit to like prioritize on their big selling characters like the Sentinel Resonators. But brother, you went from doing this occasionally to spamming it every single fucking patch. Now, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. There is another game I play that seemingly is going to go down the exact same route, being Bleach Soul Resonance. They just released Toshiro, who is a spirit character, and then surprise launched Aizen after Toshiro, who is a spirit tactician slash sub DPS equivalent in Wuwa, right? Like a sub DPS buffer like Chakona or Yuno. And that can be annoying, right? I didn't like that. I'm going to be honest. However, the thing is, the pity system in Bleach Soul Resonance is fucking leagues above Wuwa's, okay? For anyone who hasn't played Bleach Soul Resonance, Wuwa has 90, oh no, they have 80. Excuse me, sorry, spreading misinformation. They have max 80 pity on the character banner with a 50-50, and they have a guaranteed weapon banner at also 80 pity, right? Bleach Soul Resonance has, no matter what, a guaranteed on the limited character banner at also a max of 80 pity, and they also have a guaranteed weapon banner, but it's half the max pity of Wuwa's at 40. And you may say, oh, this doesn't matter without the pull income. The thing is, we already know Bleach Soul Resonance's pull income, and they give about the same amount of pulls, if not a little more than Wuwa, within a month's time span, as compared to Wuwa's patch time span, which is a month and a half, 50% more allotted time. So even though Bleach Soul Resonance does this, and I still hate it nonetheless, it's still much more doable to actually afford back-to-back characters that are best in slot for each other as compared to Wuwa. In Wuwa, it is legit twice as difficult to accomplish the same thing in Soul Resonance. So please, if any Wuwa dev actually gives a single fuck about my opinion, can we just slow it down? I'm not even saying to completely stop doing this, because you're a fucking gacha company who wants to get as much money out of the players as possible. All gacha companies are like this. HSR, Genshin, right? People can have their biases and they can love one of these games a lot. However, it does not change the nature of these companies and their ultimate goal. I'm just saying, cut us some slack with how fucking frequently you're doing these best in slot teammates next to each other on the exact same fucking patch, right? Because if I lose a single 50-50, unless I get an extremely lucky early, there's no way in fucking hell I'm gonna be able to also afford the best in slot teammate for this character, and I'm gonna have to wait a long ass time. And this wouldn't be an issue if best in slot teammates were the only thing people had to worry about. People also have to worry about getting signature weapons in this game. Yes, we just got new 5-star weapons. However, those 5-star our standard weapons really aren't all that much of upgrades over the old standard ones, other than the old standard weapons that didn't have any crit stats, meaning they are mainly stat sticks, and that's as far as they go. You're still going to see 25 to 30% signature jumps, if not more, if it continues to progress during this version, nonetheless, despite the new addition of these standard weapons, right? Love you all. Hope you have a great day. Hope you all have a great night. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Do you think I'm being too harsh? I mean, I still love Wuwa. I'm still going to keep playing it, right? Like, this game has a lot going for it, and I genuinely enjoy it. I simply think this is one of the things that really annoys me and probably annoys a lot of free-to-plays out there as well. They just need to stop spamming best-in-slot teammates for each other on the exact same patch. Hope you all have a great day. Hope you all have a great night. Peace out.